Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Chaos Child. We're about to enter some very scary territory. As we went down, it got darker, and the air got heavier and more humid.
大丈夫か、尾上。
And after we'd gone down for a few minutes, we ran into a door. We'd probably gone down about a floor. I turned the knob and it opened easily. Maybe it hadn't been locked to begin with. I'm really bothered by all these unlocked doors.
ここは。
It was a dimly lit, musty-smelling hallway. It was clear that the place hadn't been abandoned, and there wasn't a layer of dust everywhere. It even felt like it had been cleaned. But it felt so old. There was a sense of desolation, as if no one had wanted to use this place for anything for a very long time. Had it been like this since the hospital above us was built? And this air, I knew it. The sides of my head started to hurt as the horrible memories came back. This is the flashback hospital? Sarika seemed to remember too. That's right. This was the place. I didn't know how we'd done it, but when we were kids, the two of us had snuck in here into the basement of AH Tokyo General Hospital. How? We were trying to investigate an urban legend about Amy. And then Sarika and I... We'd seen it. I tried to avoid thinking about it as much as I possibly could, but I'd failed. The memory would come back to me, then fade, and then come back again. As I'd grown up, I'd even tried to convince myself that I'd never seen anything at all. But I'd failed at that too. It was unreal, like something out of a nightmare, but something in my heart told me that it was real. And it was real, after all. Yes, it was real. I was sure of it. Can you imagine seeing that? That's terrifying.
Oi, どうしたんだよ、二人とも。
Ito realized that there was something wrong with Sarika and me, and tried to pull us back up the stairs. But we couldn't do that. There were suddenly footsteps behind us. I could hear what sounded like the panting of a beast behind me. I could feel its warm, stinking breath on my neck.
何かいる。
I couldn't turn around. I wanted to fall to the ground in terror, but if I did that, I knew somehow that the thing behind me would attack. Suddenly, I heard Sarika's thin, frail voice. She should have been right next to me, but for some reason, I couldn't see her.
Oh no.
Is this another vision, or is it real? Yeah, I noticed that when it said help, that was not the full word for help. Or help me or whatever, missing a syllable. And then her voice cut off. And then there was the sound of something being crushed. It's just a vision. And then the sound of what sounded like someone kneading a ball of meat. And mixed with it was the sound of snapping bones. Wait. I was just going to say Ito was going to be the one to snap us out of this, but hold on. Ito turned around and suddenly froze with terror, unless this is still part of the vision, and then Ito snaps us out of it.
Miyashiro. あれ なんだなんなんだよおい
No, you idiots, don't look. If you look, it will kill you. So don't look. Oh! A bloody piece of meat fell to the ground at our feet. It was what used to be Serica. Ito screamed. I couldn't help myself. I turned around. Oh, really? I turned around to look at what he was seeing. And what I saw was... Oh my god, that's horrible. Whoa! I don't know what I expected, but... Whoa! It was standing there, moaning in a voice that was filled with hatred and pain. What? That's how we end the chapter? What? Gigalomaniacs. Like Megalomaniac, Gigalomaniac, but this is real? This isn't a vision? Whoa! That's a nightmare scenario! What was that? What the hell was that? A giant woman with a head like a sumo sticker? It was almost like a bad joke. I wanted to laugh. This hilarious looking monster was gonna be what killed me? What the hell kind of death was that? Okay, if this is a vision, it's a between chapter vision, which would be amazing. But if it's not, Serica is dead. If you laugh, that thing isn't scary at all. The giant woman's hand stretched out for me. As it moaned in pain, its arms moved in to crush me. And suddenly my vision went black. I couldn't see anything. Then I realized. It had probably crushed my eyes. This has to be a vision, wait a second. That hilarious-looking sumo sticker woman had crushed my eyes. I was going to be torn apart like Serica and killed. It was the funniest thing in the world. Could you even imagine anything stupider?
Oi, 何をしている?
That's not the girl. Suddenly I heard a sharp voice next to me. Something moved over my mouth to stop me from laughing. I was grabbed from behind, and thin but powerful arms were wrapped around my neck. It hurt. I couldn't breathe.
おとなしくしろ。それ以上バカでかい声を上げるな。静かにするなら話してやる。でなければ、このまま締め落とす。
I nodded as hard as I could. And then the hands around my neck relaxed, and it became much easier to breathe. My vision came back at the same time. Whoever had grabbed me had covered my eyes as well as my mouth. They hadn't been crushed after all. We probably would have noticed the pain. There is no monster. Serica's alive.
だから落ち着け。お前は。
There is no monster. Serica's alive? I doubled over in pain as she punched me in the stomach, even though it was a slap sound. I could feel stomach acid coming up into my throat and burning it, but the pain made my head feel much clearer. When I looked up, I didn't see a monster with the head of a sumo sticker anymore, just a dark, musty hallway. Are we not with Ito and Serika? Hello? Okay. Wow, I gotta give props to this game. A death and then the chapter changes, and it was a vision. That's clever.
大丈夫かおい尾上人僕は何をなんか発作を起こしたんだよしかも急に叫び出して
Yeah, because I even said it was weird that the monster came from. Well, I didn't know it was a monster, but whatever came from behind would have meant that they had to come in through the autopsy room as well, and the monster did that.
私たちもパニックになりそうだったの。そしたら黒里さんが助けてくれて。
Oh, it's Kunosato. Huh.
黒里さん
So she just knows about this place? Kunosato, wasn't that? Oh, right, the girl who was with Shinjo.
まったく素人どもがこんなところで何をしている。
Yeah, I remember that cold voice. I looked back at the speaker.
やっぱりこの人か
お前たち誰かに連れてこられたというわけではなさそうだな。ということはまさか忍び込んできたのか。どうやって。
どうって
Even she's impressed.
私たちですらここのキーを入手するのにかなりの苦労を強いられたんだ。なのになぜ。
Sure, we had a bit of a bad time in the autopsy room, but it hadn't really been hard to get here. Although, to be fair, that's because they were sloppy and just left the door open a crack. None of the doors have been locked. That's true, too. When I told her that, Kunosato glared at us with suspicious eyes.
黒里さん
まあいい。とにかく邪魔だ。今すぐ帰れ。
Maybe we should.
おいおいそりゃないだろ助けてくれたのは感謝するけどさいきなり邪魔者扱いとか
That sound, damn. The next instant, Kunosato had closed the gap between Ito and herself and started strangling him. Is that just her move? She just strangles people?
騒ぐなと言ったのが聞こえなかったのか。
Ito nodded, tears coming out of his eyes. I could understand why. I didn't know how she could store so much power in her tiny body, but I just felt it for myself. Ito rubbed his throat in pain as she let him go.
もう一度言う。邪魔だ。帰れ。
Her voice was intimidating enough that I almost obeyed, but we'd come here for a reason. And... this place had something to do with our past. If I could, I wanted to find out what happened then. Maybe we could be rid of the nightmare that had been making us suffer for so long. So even though she scared me, I needed to tell her straight.
僕たちは
私たちはやらなきゃいけないことがあってきたんです。そんな風に頭ごなしに帰れって言われても帰れません。
尾上
That was what I was trying to say.
尾上お前尾上セリカか。そうですけど。何か。いや、とにかく帰るんだ。
危険なのは分かってます。でも僕たちだってどうしても。
誰がお前たちの心配をしている。
That's pretty good.
え？
私は私の目的があってここにいる。お前たちに勝手な行動をされて、その目的の遂行を邪魔されては困ると、そう言ってるんだ。
I mean, you're tougher than any of us, but you want to take on that team of 6 or 7 people? How cold.
その目的って何なんです？
お前たちには関係ない。
She turned around and started to walk away.
いいですよ。だったら僕たちも勝手にしますから。
しますから。何？
She turned around and stared at us. Her glare was like a fierce panther's. I swallowed my words, but Serica didn't.
理由も話せないような人の言うことになんて従いません。貴様。さあ、タク、しんちゃんも行こう。急いでタクのスマホ見つけなきゃ。
ああ。やっぱ女っていざって時強えな。
Ito whispered in my ear.
だったらおとなしくついてこい。私の言うことに逆らうなよ。
いいんすか？
Ito had become very polite toward her after she strangled him.
時間がないんだ。しかも、ここまで慎重に調査を進めてきたのに、お前たちが見つかったり、騒ぎを起こされでもしたら、すべてが水の泡になる。
Her arrogant manner was almost enough to make me talk back to her, but then I realized something. If she'd done a lot of careful investigation, that meant she had information that we didn't. So wouldn't it be better to pretend to obey for now?
それで最後にはこっちが利用してやる。
話は終わりだ。壁沿いに静かについてこい。大きな音や声は出すな。
She looked down the hallway and then moved over to the wall. And then she started to move, quickly and quietly. I made eye contact with Ito and Serica, then followed her. The further down the hallway we went, the darker it got. The lights were sporadically placed and half of them were burnt out. You had to look carefully to see more than a few meters ahead. The only things that had to guide me were the black-haired girl in front of me and the wall that I was touching with my hand. The wall hadn't been repaired for a long time. In some places the paint had fallen off, and in parts the steel beams underneath were exposed. This place must have been built a long, long time ago. We walked through the underground labyrinth as quietly as we could. None of my 5 senses were of any use to me now, and I had no idea where I was or how I'd gotten there. But Kunosato seemed to know exactly where she was going. Looking back, maybe we were lucky to meet her. I had no idea how long we'd been walking, but we finally came to a part of the hallway with a row of doors on the opposite wall. The doors were made of steel and looked very strong. On the upper part of each was what looked like a number plate. There were tiny windows on the doors, but they had thick bars on them. They looked like the solitary confinement cells I'd seen on a TV show once.
この中に人が？いや、まさかな。
The space beyond the bars was pitch black, and I couldn't tell if there was anything inside.
なんか気味悪いな。
だから黙って歩け。
すいません。
Ito quickly apologized, but Kunosato turned around, walked up to him, and wrapped her hand around his throat again. Yeah, saying sorry is more talking.
遊びじゃないんだ。お前死ぬぞ。
Ito nodded again and again until she finally glared at him one last time and let him go. He put his hand to his throat and moaned a little. It was obvious that Kunosato wasn't messing around. Maybe this place was more dangerous than I thought. It said all, but there's only 3 exclamations. Suddenly I heard the sound of someone pounding the door from the inside. How is anyone down here? Like, you really have to go out of your way to check on these people. Someone was inside?
なんなんだよ、おい。
静かにしろ。騒ぐな。
But... We almost screamed, but when we saw Kunosato's glare, we quickly put our hands over our mouths. What the hell was that voice? Serika tugged frantically at my arm. Then Ito grabbed onto me too. What? I wanted to cling to someone too, but there was no one for me to grab.
あれ、あっちの扉の中から目が。
何?
I looked over where Ito was pointing and tried to see for myself, but I couldn't see anything.
気のせいだろ。
いや、確かに見た。間違いなく目だった。
I mean, hey, if we can have 2 visions in this game, Ito can have 1, right? Now there was singing. I could hear a girl singing in a tiny, barely audible voice. Creak, creak. A woman was pushing an old baby carriage down the hallway towards us. What? She was the one singing. That's creepy. What is this? Why would any of this be happening? Serika and Ito cringed in terror. My heart was beating so fast and so loud that I could hear the sound echoing in my ears.
止まれ。壁に張り付いてじっとしている。向こうにはこっちが見えていない。
Is this like a ghost story? What is this?
でも。
And how the hell would you know this?
いいから、喋るな。
Kunosato pushed her back up against the wall and stopped breathing. Jeez, if she's taking this seriously? We did the same, our bodies shaking with fear as we moved. Ooh. Actual movement is off-putting considering we haven't had it for so long. Creak, creak. The sound of the creaking old carriage got closer and closer as the woman passed near us. Kunosato was right. Her eyes were hazy and out of focus, and she didn't seem to notice us. But she was only a meter away. Ugh. Off-putting. Slowly, slowly. She sang as she pushed the carriage right past us. Don't even tell me. Ito was so terrified his body started to spasm. He gave a small cry. Come on now. That's enough of that. This is when you, like, bite your own finger or your hand or something just to shut yourself up. Or your sleeve or something. The woman stopped right in front of us and slowly turned around. Her empty eyes stared at us, and then slowly, jerkily, like a broken machine, she tilted her head. Might have been better if we closed our eyes. We clung to the wall and held our breath, unable to move a muscle. We were too scared to even close our eyes. I couldn't take any more. I wanted out. I wanted to get away from here. If I stayed here another minute, I was going to go crazy. In fact, we already kind of did for that first vision. The woman stared at us for what felt like hours. But then, she looked forward once more as if nothing had happened, and started to walk again. That is very creepy. What is that? Like, what is this? What would that have been? We almost collapsed to the ground in relief. I couldn't take my eyes off of her as she disappeared into the darkness.
自分たちがどういう場所にいるのか少しは分かったか
Even as we'd been almost crushed by the terror, Kunosato had been completely calm.
帰りたいと泣いてももう遅いからなそこが目的の部屋だ
Kunosato moved away from the wall and stared straight in front of us.
目的の部屋
I followed her gaze to a pair of double doors in the darkness. They were different from the others. They looked like the doors to a normal lab.
来い遅れるな
Man, if only we had our phone camera for that. Kunosato headed toward the doors, seeming completely unafraid. Sarika's legs were shaking too much for her to move, so Ito and I helped her as we followed. When we got to the door, Kunosato took out what looked like a key card from her skirt pocket. The door had a modern electronic lock, unlike the others we'd seen so far. She put the key card up to the reader, and the door swung open silently. She disappeared into the room, and we quickly followed. We all gasped as we entered the room. An entire wall of the room was lined with monitors. They were probably set up to observe something, but every one of them was off, so there was no way to tell what. But it was hard to believe that someone would set up something like this in a normal hospital.
おい
Kunosato turned toward Ito and gave him an order in a flat, emotionless voice.
見張りくらいはやってもらおうドアの外の音に注意してろ誰か来たら知らせるんだ
了解
Again, we have that person we were following, with 5 or 6 guys. Like, that's intimidating. Kunosato nodded, looked around the room, and then headed straight for a computer. She took a look at the wiring behind it and then flipped the power switch. The machine started to make a low noise.
動くんですか
見ればわかるだろう
でも勝手に立ち上げたりして大丈夫なんすかね
どうして
だってネットでつながってたりしたら動かしてることバレるんじゃ
心配ないこいつがスタンドアローンだということは確認してある
What does standalone mean? You ask. A computer that's isolated from any other computers or networks. Before the broad introduction of modems and the internet, almost all home PCs were standalone, but now standalone machines are almost never seen except in special cases. Oh, that explained it. If that was true, at least we wouldn't have to worry about someone seeing it from the outside.
お前たちが思いつくようなことを私が考えないとでも思ったのかバカにするなよ
She was as obnoxious as ever. Neither of us know the first thing about you, though, so can you really blame us? Was something that neither Ito nor I could say. That's a lot of monitors.